Today we are going to deal with crisis management landscape, again chapter 2. There are a few slides left in that chapter 2 I noticed and I have developed it. Globalization increases the risk of organizational, supply chain and societal risks or societal crisis. Global outsourcing is a strategy associated with proliferation of globalization. That means you are going global. It refers to contracting out a firm's peripheral non-revenue producing activities to organizations in other countries, primarily to reduce costs. Outsourcing involves substituting internal capacity and production by that of a supplier. Involvement in the global markets can mitigate political and economic risk by reducing the reliance on a single nation or a region. However, participation in countries prone to crisis can increase risk. Reshoring is a movement towards bringing production back to the host country. There are operational control problems. Arrangements such as strategic alliances, partnership, and outsourcing, particularly across borders, can make an organization susceptible to the political, legal, cultural, and other influences that affect its partners. Laissez-faire decentralization is inappropriate in less developed countries. Because if you're going to decentralize and get your thing outside, say for example, to a country having a lot of problems or having safety and environmental degradation issues are there, then actually it is going to affect you in the future. We have seen Nike example where they tried to do outsourcing on production and had a huge price to pay for that. The problems of fragile supply chains, the two sub-trends have been occurring in the world's supply lines. First is global outsourcing and the second is movement towards lean management and its accompanying emphasis on leaner supply chains and single outsourcing. So you have, instead of multiple outsourcing, many people even have gone to single outsourcing. Both trends make supply chains more vulnerable or crisis to external shocks that can interrupt a firm's supply lines. When companies carry less inventory, interruptions in the supply chains due to this crisis, less inventory means less inventory carrying cost or not too much money tied up in the supply chain. These are advantages, but it can lead to crisis also. That can grind production to a standstill, because if something happens, just like COVID or something, what happened? We cannot move products across the borders, and now you will not be having enough inventory to produce the required things. Single outsourcing is an essential practice in many firms. Unfortunately, when a company's main vendor experiences a crisis, its supplies will be affected as well. The same is true with vendors that provide daily deliveries. An interruption in this delivery schedule can halt production immediately. Then the reputational crisis is there. Public opposition to outsourcing can harm public sentiments and weaken customer loyalty for firms directly or indirectly involved. Outsourcing firms in the United States have shifted many domestic jobs overseas. While it is convenient and simplistic to invoke a corporate greed argument, so the reality is far more than that, because many places, many times what we do is we say that it's corporate greed, but customer demands low prices, and the customer demand only generate revenues. So if you are looking at something very high cost, you will not be able to survive in the market in the first place. So there is all sorts of things going on. You have to be very receptive to changes in the market, receptive to changes in the attitude of the shareholders or stakeholders. These are all things that have to be considered as a totality when you make decisions, especially for outsourcing. Okay, reshoring movement is another one. Reshoring simplifies the supply chain by shortening the distance between the home country and outsourced manufacturer, which is usually located in a developing country due to lower wages associated with making the product. Several factors are involved in reshoring. One factor is the convergence of the labor rates across the globe. Another factor in favor of reshoring is identifying quality control problems when source is from an overseas vendor. Reshoring movement suggests that organizations take a closer look at long-term costs and risk associated with shifting production to another country. Each situation is different. Remember that. Remember, firms typically outsource to suppliers in emerging countries to reduce costs. What is often at stake is more than just low cost. Quality, safety, environmental responsibility, human dignity, all are important. So now what is happening is that many a times the companies are bringing back those outsourced back to the country. That is what reshoring movement means. In order to ensure quality, safety, environmental responsibility, and uncertainty. Again, that word you should be always remembering. There's an uncertainty in managing the supply chain when you have it is in another country. So we should have to take into account that too when we are making decisions. So reshoring movement is a way to respond to that, to avoid that or lessen that uncertainty too. Thank you very much.